Welcome back to Someday Soon. I am your host, Mark Fiacco, and today we are joined by a singer and songwriter making a huge name for himself in the music industry, not only through his own music, but his ability to write songs for others, including the #1 hit Country On for Luke Bryan. Today we are joined by Styles Haury, here to talk about his new EP, which is out. It's available everywhere now. Give it a listen. And before you do that, if you're listening to the show on Spotify, please drop a comment, follow the show. If you're on YouTube, drop a subscribe, a comment. Let me know what you guys want to see going forward. I really appreciate all the support so far. And without further ado, please enjoy Styles Haury. Styles, thank you so much for taking the time and hopping on.
Hey, Mark, thank you so much. Glad to be here and glad I could hop on and hang out for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to get into all that you've had going on. And, obviously we have Stephen Calley's a mutual friend of ours, so I've heard about you for a long time and kind of kept up with a lot of your stuff. So I'm really excited to get into a lot of the successes you've had and you've been living. But before we get there, I would just love to talk about, your come up in music. I read somewhere that Danny, your rhythm guitar player you've been playing with since the 4th grade, which is, crazy in its own right. But I'd love to hear, music sounds like it's always been a part of your life. Do you remember a time before music, or kind of how did you come to start doing it?
Yeah, so, well, I'll touch on the first thing is Stephen Calley's awesome. And I really appreciate him connecting us. And I know he's making some waves up there in New York, so that's always awesome. And yeah, as far as music for me, man, I started playing music in the 4th grade. My rhythm guitar player, Dan, or Danny, we actually met in kindergarten and remained friends through school. And in 4th grade, him and his brother got a bass guitar and a regular guitar. And my old man was working on some muscle cars. He had a big mechanical contracting shop where I grew up in Ohio. And he did some motor work on this Chevelle or Camaro of a guy named Van who played drums in this country band that would rehearse in my dad's barn. And I remember Van had bought me a drum set because I was always like starry-eyed every time I'd come out there, and I would just watch them rehearse. And, growing up listening to my dad's CDs of Alan Jackson, George Strait, Kenny Chesney, whatever, Brooks and Dunn. And then my mom had just all these albums, like these big albums like of AC/DC. So it was funny because we kind of always had this blend of like rock and country kind of mixed in. And same with Dan and his brother. So we hopped on with starting a little band and just trying to like a jam band, garage band kind of thing. It just stuck with us, man. We ended up doing it through high school and did a couple of Battle of the Bands. And then, after high school, we all went on to try to do like things besides music because, when you're small town America, you just not thinking that could ever even be a reality, right? Like, it's like, that's not realistic, like we can't do that. And it's pretty crazy because, I kept coming back to it. What I was doing a little bit of college. I was cutting some grass, doing some pipe fitting. I was in the 669 pipe fitting union. I was doing some of that, but I kept going back to playing these little shows in our hometown. And, later on we ended up winning the country battle of the bands for our local place called the Thirsty Cowboy. And that got us to open for Jake Owen.
Wow.
It's pretty funny because I went on later in Nashville I put out a couple records with Good Company and was signed to Jake and Keith for a little period there. So it was kind of cool to see that come full circle after I had originally met him at opening for him in the Country Jam years before that. So that was cool. So for it to kind of start out so young and then be able to continue to change over the years, it was cool,
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I also, grew up, like, I'm a filmmaker now, and I grew up kind of knowing like this was always what I wanted to do, and there was kind of no change in it. But I certainly agree to the fact that like you get to a certain age, especially small town America, people don't really know what's out there for the creative field. So you're kind of just, you start thinking more realistic. So you're always playing music. It's more of a hobby to you when you first start. At what point did you kind of make the mental shift? Was there a moment that you remember where you were like, all right, this is, something I really actually want to pursue professionally and want to give it my best shot at?
I feel like after the Country Jam thing, we were playing a lot of stuff locally. And then through just a networking of friends and stuff, I got connected to a guy named Rob Snyder. Rob Schneider wrote "She Got the Best of Me" and a bunch of stuff. And this was early on before he had that. But he was in Nashville doing the thing. And I remember getting connected with Rob Schneider, and I drove to Philadelphia to write with him at his mom's house just through a network of things. Like I just drove from Ohio out there and was like, you know what? Just the music on my heart, right? Like I just wanting to go out there and just try to do something. I don't know. It was almost kind of just like this God in a way, right? Like it just felt like what I needed to do. And we went out there and we wrote a song, and it turned into him saying like, man, just because I asked him advice, that's what I want to know. Like, I got to learn. What tips can you give me? And I remember him telling me like, man, if you want to do music, you have to move to Nashville. And I was like, wow, that's not what I was expecting him to say, especially, I was 20 at the time, and I'm like, man, like I don't know, I could barely rub two nickels together. How can we, whatever, how's that going to make sense? Well, then, go back to Ohio and be bopping around, and those words just kind of rolled around in my head. Some more networking happened, and I got connected to a guy named Kenny Royster who produced Hurricane for Luke Combs. And I called him up one day, and we talked, and then he gave me the price sheet of like what it would be to record in Nashville. And I was like, good gracious, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that. And I remember, I was talking to my old man about it, and just like was landscaping, cutting grass, mulching, do whatever I could, side job this, side job another gig, trying to save up some stuff. And then I remember my old man knew that I just wasn't fitting well in the pipe fitting scene. Like I would go to work and they would be jamming this radio, and it was killing me, man. It was like I was hearing this music all around me. I'm just like, what? And I would always be, what am I doing? What am I doing? And then I'm late to work and I'm doing this. My dad's like, dude, you're always wanting to beat on that guitar, and you're doing this and you're out late because you're playing gigs. Like, if you want to do this thing, then do it. You have to be working if you're living at my house, was kind of the rule that was set, right? Well, you're under this roof card kind of thing. And I told him, all right, I'm going to book as many gigs as I can, do this. Well, then I remember my dad, because we had talked about, and with my mom as well, like, just about Rob Schneider saying I need to move to Nashville. Told him that information, and he went on and he sold something. I don't know if it was the Jeep or one of his cars. He sold it, and he's like, look, I'll fund the first project, but the deal is you got to move down there. And so we went, we recorded it, we came back, and my now wife, but that was been about 9 years ago. We both moved down here from my hometown together with a couple friends, and took it head on, and thankfully haven't left, and we're able to stay in it. So yeah,
Wow.
that's kind of how it
Yeah.
progressed. And
That's awesome, man.
once we moved, it was like, okay, we're in it now.
This is for real now. Yeah, it's cool, and I love to hear the story about your dad there too, because I think it's super important. It seems like a common theme in a lot of the people I talk to that are doing really well is like there's always that one person in the background at the start that really believed in them and really kind of gave them that extra little push to do something. So, it's awesome for people to be able to share the wealth, whether it's financially, whether it's time, energy, whatever it is, to kind of help the people around them succeed is incredible.
Right.
Yeah, so you're doing a lot of gigging at this time also, which, we'll talk too about the state of the industry and how things have changed with social media now. It seems like the tides have changed, and, at the time, like that was the method, was you move to Nashville, you gig as much as you can, and you grind it day by day. And, I think that's something that's maybe not happening as much anymore, with people being on social media and getting a lot of following and all that. What are some things you learned in those years while you were gigging a lot, just really, nose to the grind, that you think is invaluable, that, maybe these days people coming up on social media aren't learning the same way?
Well, man, that's super interesting. So I feel like, nowadays it's like the Wild West, right? It's awesome. And I feel like there was still social media. I don't think TikTok was rocking when I got into it. There's still socials. And I feel like, when I first got to town and I was really beating the pavement, I went out and was open for Dwight Yoakam and did Brantley Gilbert and Darius Rucker. And I went out and did a lot of these opening slots. And I feel like, and the honky-tonks too. Like, we played so much stuff. And I remember when Steven was with us the first time, we were up in Maine, and he crashed on my bus with us, and, it was cool. And but I remember we took that bus to places we should have never even had a bus. It was like, it was hilarious, but as you get into it, and I feel like this is just one of my opinion on the stuff, because there's bajillions of ways it could work. You never know. The truth is, you don't know what's going to make the thing, right? Or why the next spark's going to turn into a giant flame. Someone's going to blow up and be the next superstar. But it's like, at least for me, on my trajectory, it was something really valuable of doing those shows is learning to play the audience with your band on stage, getting to see all the different gears and mechanisms of touring and everybody's role in that and how important it is, from a booking agency to a tour manager to the sound guy to the venue to your band to yourself as an artist to um all kinds of the bus driver to there's just so many different things I guess you get to see when you're out there doing it. And not even at a gigantic level, you're just doing the honky-tonk thing. And I think later on when you get some of the bigger shows where everything is so totally polished and everything's kind of clicking in and doing the right thing, I think it's pretty cool to be able to do those honky-tonks and some of that grunt style stuff on the way up, because it makes you appreciate when everything's really greased up and the gears are all going the right direction. I would say that's something super important. You learn a lot of things about people, about working as a team. I think that's really a big one. And, different people's going to bring different attitudes. I think the biggest thing that I learned out of all of the whole thing with that is positivity. Number one thing that, and especially as an artist, you have to remain positive and you set the tone for a lot of people's attitudes, and the littlest things of just going that extra mile to meet fans, take the time to do stuff with venue owners, any sort of publicity stuff around there. Show appreciation to your band is something as simple as a gift card or a thank you note or something super simple can go the longest way. And the flip side of that coin, it can go very south. If you're negative, there's going to be a big black cloud over what you got going on out there. And that ultimately, I feel like kind of builds like a cancer inside of the crew, right? So yeah, that's kind of my take on it. Positivity wins every time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And people call it different things. People might call it like a law of attraction type thing, but I think the common theme of just, keeping your mind space right and no matter what, just keeping the main thing, right? Just remembering what you're here for, remembering what all the work is for is super important. And like you're doing it in a different way with the gigs now, but I'm sure people also experience it if they're really trying their best just to, do it on social media in their own way of just how hard it is to come up in the music industry in particular. What do you think is the mindset or the attitudes of the people that are able to push through that and are able to get to the other side, and the ones that kind of fall off along the way?
Right. I would think for me, just again, myself speaking, and this isn't for everybody, but I feel like some of the artists that I've been fortunate enough to become friends with, and one common denominator that I think that is so important is a stoic mentality. Is again, finding the positive, like something's going south or something gets tough. It's like, you kind of just have that mentality of like, really, that's all you got? Get on. We're going to find a way. We don't know the right way, but we're going to find a way to do it. And if there's a will, there's a way, kind of thing. And I think a lot of the artists that have made that a priority to kind of have the type of nervous system that can withstand any environment, then cream rises to the top,
Right. Yeah, I think I think it was Trevor Lawrence was talking about this. Funny enough, I don't know why I just thought of this now, but he was like, his mentality is always, no matter what it is, the response is always just good. If it's a good thing or a bad thing, it's good, because we're just on to the next thing. We're moving on, like we're keeping that mindset right, and it's a huge deal. And it's honestly, I feel like the hardest part for anyone trying to do anything extraordinary is just those thoughts are always going to creep in. On some of those mornings where it's tough to get out of bed for whatever. Some days just feel different, and they're always going to creep in. So just fighting them off the best you can is all you can do.
Man, we all have that, no matter what it is that's on your heart that you're chasing, to really get there, there's going to be struggles. And it's important, I think, too, to surround yourself with people that really, well, it's pretty funny. I wrote a song about it yesterday. It's about people that pour gas on your fire, those are the people that you need in your life, and being able to weed out the others. People struggle, and I mean, I've struggled personally, just trying to like, oh man, like, how do I stay in it? You know, how do I, this is such a horrible situation. But and my manager's Chris Rochester is the king of this. He'll, every time I'll tell him, hey, let me point out the positive. He'll do that to me every time. It makes me laugh. But it's so true, you know. And one more thing to touch on that is I came across a reel on Instagram or something. It was a Navy SEAL talking about like what got him through, you know, the boot camp and the stuff to become a Navy SEAL. And he said, and I thought this was so cool, don't quit today, quit tomorrow. But the truth is, tomorrow never comes. It turns into today. So tomorrow, you'll say, don't quit today, quit tomorrow.
I love that. I love that. I'm gonna hold on to that one. I'm gonna pull that one out one day. Yeah, it's gonna sound great. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it
great.
is. It hit me square in the heart. I'm like, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, that's right. Just push forward one more day. One more day. And I'm sure, especially coming up, you know, like we were just talking about, you were really on the grind, spending your time in Nashville. So you're coming up, you're grinding out really hard. You're signed to Warner Chappell in 2021. But, you know, leading up to that, when did you feel like you started to get some momentum in Nashville, and what kind of led up to your signing?
When I went from really like beating the pavement, it was like, you know, the social media, Instagram, Facebook, we were doing all that thing, trying to get music out. We're doing that. We're living here. We're beating the pavement so much that we're living here, but we're never really here. You know, we have a condo here in town, but we're never really here. And I remember I started working with a guy named Eric Hurt, who now is with Empire, and I think he works with Shabuzi and all that. Me and Eric still remain great friends. Rob Schneider connected me with Eric Hurt, which again, it's just this whole networking thing, right? It's all these relationships thing. So Eric Hurt was working for publishing for Black River at the time, and he's like, "Man, are you writing a lot?" I said, "Man, I'm writing with you know, these guys, and I wrote a couple songs with Rob." And he's like, "Man, what do you say I start booking you some days to write here? When are you here?" I said, "Well, man, I'm doing all this stuff on the road." He goes, "Dude, you're never here, man. Like, you need to balance that scale a little bit." Like, I'm like, "Well, man, I gotta survive. I gotta get out there on the road. I got bills to pay. I got, you know, cost of doing stuff, man." He goes, "All right, well, maybe you could try to balance that scale and get yourself, like, make a goal of yours, a publishing deal, which is you get brought on board by a company to write songs for yourself and for other people." I was like, wow, really? I didn't even know that was a thing. This is crazy. Learning more about the business as things are unfolding. And I remember I started writing a bunch with people he had set me up with, and a song I eventually put out myself, but it was on hold with John Party forever. It was called "A Man That Didn't Know Nothing." And I remember when I got that hold, Eric was then able to start connecting me some dots with publishers, taking meetings, getting coffees, doing the thing. And I'm like, all right, is this what it is? Like, he's like, "Dude, this is how it starts. Like, just bear with me." And I'm like, okay. So I'm still writing, still doing some shows, still doing this. And then me and Eric have become such great friends. He's like, "Man, I'm starting a management thing. You want me to manage you?" And I was like, "I would love that, dude. Like, let's do it. Like, we're working so well together." Well, then we ended up getting signed to CAA, which is a big booking agency. He had connected a bunch of dots. Fast forward, and boom, next thing you know, after working up a big catalog of songs and doing some stuff, we got the offer. I remember I was down in Key West for Keys to the Country. It was me, Craig Campbell, Easton Corbin, Adam Sanders. We played the first Keys to the Country down there at Hawks Cay Resort. And I remember that's where I was when I got the email from the attorneys that I got my first official publisher offer. And I was stoked. I was like, let's go. We're doing this thing. So then, boom, just like that, I went from beating the pavement and doing that to now, okay, now we can kind of balance the scale here, and I can split my time equally and more like on a more healthy scale between playing shows, doing the artistry thing, and then doing the writing thing.
Right. Yeah, and that's a big thing too. People don't realize if you're not like really into the music scene or the business, like the songwriting, these guys are the unsung heroes of the industry, man. Like so many of these people are writing such incredible songs that would never be heard if it weren't for these songwriters. And you've had some massive success as a songwriter, obviously, namely writing the #1, country on for Luke Bryan. When you're writing these songs as a songwriter, are you still just kind of writing things that are true to you, that you feel like, would match you as an artist, or are you sitting down writing for someone specifically? Like how are those, how is the day to day as a songwriter in Nashville?
Getting into the first publishing deal, I was really excited because I knew, as an artist, knowing that everything starts with the song, right? That's what it boils down to. It boils down to the song. And if you're an artist, and how I was looking at it, just again, my opinion on it, I was like, man, this is something that I feel like I've always had a little bit of a knack for. That's what kind of got me doing the artistry thing in the first place. Knew that I could collaborate well with others, with the Rob Snyder and these guys that we had so much fun writing these songs. I was so excited to really dive in and learn that aspect of the business because there's so many different gears and departments of quote unquote the music business. There's like it's incredible on how many little different avenues and pockets there are that ultimately all come down to all of the gears that make an artist be able to be an artist. And so when I got to hone in on the songwriting side of it, being able to get in and get on the team and then start working with people, find people that you click well with. And my biggest thing for me, I was like, man, I wanted to soak up as much as I could learn from the veterans of the writing scene. And I knew if I built good friendships and relationships with them for the artistry side of things, that's always going to be ace in your pocket to have because those guys, I mean, that's why they are Hall of Famers or guys that, that wrote the biggest songs in our genre and whatever. So any chance I got, I would soak that up. And then, you know, each person, so it's so kind of interesting. Each person has their own thing, right? Some guys are really good with melody. Some guys are really good with lyricists. They're good with lyrics. Some guys are really good at like rhythm, like how they pocket things and how their cadence in their singing or their vibe has a certain bounce to it, or like it just sounds cool, right? And then there's some guys that are just track guys, like just build the music like that inspires a feeling or an emotion or song. So I feel like what I found as writing, like when we go in to write, I'm definitely not just writing for myself. I just try to go into it going, I'm going to try to write the best song in the room today, whatever that is. And I always love some advice I was given from Dean Dillon. I used to live on his old farm, believe it or not. It was kind of a crazy thing, but I remember him saying to me that like, if you write what you live, you can never go wrong. And I feel like in these writer rooms, we're all finding a common thread, that something that tugs on the heartstrings of all of us, and just a topic or a common saying or something that sounds cool, words that go good together, where it tugs on the heartstrings on something that us as people are going to go, yeah, I've been there. I've done that. Like I can relate to that. And I feel like that's kind of what we try to capture in the room, right? It's like, just the best song we can get. And I would say I speak for most writers when I say this, we all have plenty of songs that are not good, but every now and then we'll get a crumb, we'll land that 747 on a 4-leaf clover. And yeah, then you're just like, yep, that's why we do what we do.
I love it, man. Yeah, it's I've always been I think when I was young, when I first like the arts always drew me in, and music was the first thing. I was awful at everything I tried in music, which is funny now, but I feel like because of that, I became a really like a 1%er of listening to music and trying to understand it and really feel it, and so it's awesome to hear how all these things are coming about and all that's going on behind the scenes. So you obviously you get this deal. It's a huge milestone in your life, and then you write a number one for Luke Bryan. I'm always curious with the people that find their commercial successes. Some people, artists have talked about how sometimes their most famous song they can't stand after a certain amount of time, or it just doesn't grow the way that they thought it would over the course of their career. What was that situation like for you with Country On? Is that a song that you knew when you wrote it was going to be special, and do you feel proud of it? I'm sure you feel proud of it as the commercial success it is, but do you feel as proud of it as some other things you've done at just the grassroots level of a song as well?
So I feel like with Country On, I remember, this is the thing with Country On, that song we wrote during COVID. COVID was a very weird time for all of us, and I remember it was like Zoom and phone calls, and it was just kind of chaos, but it was a lot of fun. And, we all made the most of it. I was in my new publishing deal and was in it for a little bit. And then it got slightly weird because we're like, okay, now we're Zooming all the time. And it was just like kind of a change of, uh, speed for us. It was it was an interesting thing. You found out quick who you could write well with and who you couldn't. And a lot of people camping up and doing different things. Well, I remember for Country On, I remember me and Mitch Oglesby were on the phone. We are talking about, song titles and different things. And we had this idea, like kind of the saying, carry on, keep doing what you're doing, or Country On, keep doing whatever it is you're doing, Country On. Well, we get into the room and, we're working on this idea and we're chiseling around it. And it's all about, we were just like, you know what, we need to write a good positive song, because we were all trying to stay positive in that time. And we wrote it to the wall. Everybody did the best they could. We wrote it. It went into the pile with the rest and didn't think much of it. It was like there was so many weird stuff going on. It was just kind of like we're just doing what we got to do, back in a bunch. I feel like a lot of the networking and this maybe the stuff that goes on usually in town, it wasn't happening. So it's like some of that pressures were off. Like it was just kind of what it was. Well, David Frazier, the other writer on the song, Mark Nessler did this cool little demo of it. And I remember we got on and me and David and Mitch made a whole nother rendition of a different way I was hearing it and whatever. But Mark's version of the first go around, David Frazier had also wrote Believe Most People Are Good for Luke Bryan. And he was good friends with Jeff Stevens, who's Luke's producer. Well, he sent it over to him, and about 4 or 5 months later, we get an email and it's a whole big thing. And, hey, Luke loves the song. He's cutting it. Wow. Or it went on hold first. And then it went a couple of months or weeks go by. Boom. All right. He cut it. Then we get a call and it says, they say, hey, your song's off hold. Holding a song basically means, you're probably familiar with this, but like when a song gets put on hold, it's basically saying it's like saying you're buying a house with no earnest money down or not signing the contract just yet. Like, it's out when it can even be recorded and still not make the record. Like when they sort through stuff, when you see it out there, okay, now we can count our chickens. Before that, don't count your chickens. Anyway, so we get the call, the song is off hold. We're like, man, dang it. I was excited about that. Day goes by. Next day. Hey, it's off hold because he cut it. Wow, we were missing some of the information there. So we're so stoked. About a week goes by. Mitch gets the call from Luke. I guess Luke called Mitch and he's like, hey, you got the next Luke Bryan single. That's what Luke told Mitch. And then Mitch calls us and we're like, are you kidding me? You're lying. Like, no way, dude, this isn't real. And next thing you know, boom, it hits the country air check and stuff, and it starts coming out, and it was, it sure was. Ended up being a single. They made a music video about it. I feel like the timing was perfect. It was a great hats off, tip of the hat to the American people, and was a good keep going song during a crazy time. And ended up being the name of his tour and doing a thing for me. That put diapers on my kids and put me and my wife in our first home and got us a actual spot that we can call home outside of Nashville here, about 37 minutes from the Rose. It was, for me personally, it was life-changing. I remember when I first met Luke, I said, dude, thank you so much for keeping the diapers and the light bulbs on over at my place, man. And, he, of course, does the Luke Bryan thing, and he was so amazing, just total humble, cool dude like he always is, and just great guy. So it was so cool. It was like, wow. And then next thing you know, I remember around Christmas time, we were closing in on number one. I'm like, no freaking way, dude. Like this, because they don't all go number one. Sometimes stuff just falls off. And it just hit that right pocket, and it did, he launched the music video right at the right time with the military and the police force and the cowboys. And it was just cool stuff, right? Boom. Next thing you know, we got the tour going. Then he did it on American Idol. Then he did New Year's Eve, and it was crazy. So anyways, that's the Country On story. And I remember just thinking, like, it was just so cool. I'd have people sending me videos of them going to the Country On tour and playing it with the big American flag in the background. It was crazy. And then we went and had the number one party at the 30 number ones or whatever, which was cool. And, it was just, and they had like Jason Aldean, Shenandoah, all these amazing artists, Dirk Bentley, they all played. Like he did one big party and celebrated all the writers that were part of those 30 hits at the time. Cause it was his 30th number one. It was just a cool milestone that's like crazy 30. It's like, wow. And then, for me now, I guess where that song sits for me now is just like, when I think about that song, I feel so grateful. I feel grateful. I am so proud to get out there and play that song live in my show. Because I think it's a great tip of the hat, no matter where we are as a country, like, and anybody out there doing whatever they're doing, like, keep doing what you're doing, country on, A couple things, that I love doing even now with that song is, there's a part in that song where we'd say, we talk about a soldier, and I love to give a tip of the hat to our military and our veterans, first responders. And then also towards the end, I remember, and I did not write this line 100%, but I remember how it felt when I heard it. I believe it was Mark Nessler had the line. It was the last chorus. And I remember when I went into the studio, we got to hear it for the first time together. They called us down to the studio and Music Row to hear the Luke Bryan thing. And we're like, okay, the world is going to hear this, like this crazy thing. But I remember when the last chorus hit me and it said, hey, Nashville, keep bending those strings, digging for gold, chasing them dreams. Keep on with your songs to the whole world singing along. That hit me square in the heart because it's like, my goodness, that's why I'm here. And so when I play it live, I just love to highlight that little section and just remind people, like, doesn't matter whatever you're doing, but if you are doing music, that's the ticket. Keep on, keep doing it. Like we were talking about, don't quit today, quit tomorrow, and have that stoic mentality. Remain positive. So that's the Country On story and kind of where I'm at with it today. And yeah, man, just so grateful.
Yeah, love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, and we've talked about it on the podcast a bunch too. Like, really, the difference between the people that made it and the ones who didn't, the only thing that all of the people that made it have is they didn't give up. So it's just the keep on keeping on thing. We'll keep coming back to it every time, and I'll mention it as many times as it's relevant because that's obviously super, super important. And you're mentioning listening to that line for the first time and really applying it to your life, and I'm sure that's something you do often with your songs. You're really writing about your life experiences and things you're living and feeling. It's got to be hard at times, I'm sure, to balance some things maybe you don't want to write about, maybe are too personal, maybe involve the family, the kids, whatnot. Do you ever, wrestle with the idea of this is something that would be a great song, but I don't know if that's something I want to share versus, this is something that I just got to write?
I feel like for me, I don't know if I wrestle with that so much versus like, I always get in the writer's room and I'll say, we'll say something or throw out an idea. And then you decide whether or not that's too left field or like, depending on, like, that's why co-writing is so fun. It's because they're like, man, I get that, but I don't know if people are going to totally relate to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I feel like the biggest thing for me that I feel like helps me is like always writing about a feeling, but using words to paint the picture, and like almost like the words in the little pictures are the paint on the brush, but always tying it back to a feeling, right? I think that's like something that always helps me. And usually, definitely not all the time, but usually if we do a good job of relating the little pictures and the things of life that relate back to that feeling, a lot of times the song does make sense. And then other times when you're like, it's just not there. You're like, yeah, there's been times we've got down, the road a little bit. And then we're like, you know what, scrap this thing, that we need to chase a different rabbit. This isn't as good as we think it is. When there's sometimes when you think a song is really not that great and other people hear it and they're like, this is it. This is incredible. Specifically, I guess on the what I'm going through thing, a new single that I have out right now called Broke Down in My Truck, talking about something personal for me. My old man and my little brother were in a bad accident in the Philippines this month. Last year, it's been 1 year almost on the nose. And that was a really tough time. And the community of Nashville put their arms around us. And it was just, I felt like as a son, as a dad to my kids, as a husband, I had to, no matter what I was feeling, I had to saddle up and take on the role of like, very similar to what we're talking about with like music, right? Like, okay, I can sit around and, complain or be sad or whatever, or I can worry about my feelings later and I can just do what I know I got to get done. Right. And through those efforts, along with so many other amazing people in the community of Nashville, and we were able to get him a life flight and a donor. I'm going to go off on a tangent on this because it's just such a God thing and it's so crazy. A donor, a friend of ours, donated almost $500,000 to life flight him from the Philippines back to the United States to the Cleveland Clinic. And all due to just constantly staying like not at idle, where it was like, I don't know the answer here or how this is going to happen, but we have to find a way. I was calling Congress and the state and the VA. I was calling everybody I possibly could call to try to get a door to somewhere. What do we do? What are our options? Do you have any, if you know, he's a veteran, is there any way we can somehow get this figured out? And I opened Facebook. I was literally 30 minutes from leaving the BNA to go fly to the Philippines because that was kind of my last resort. I don't know, but I was thinking communications when I'm over there is going to be tough because the time zone's up. But I remember opening up Facebook and Jeff Brown, his sister, said, "Hey, Jeff said you're in need of an angel flight. You need to call him." I called him on the phone. I told him what's going on. He's like, "Link him in, buy the flight. Let's go." Like, no questions asked. It was like, I couldn't even believe it. I broke down because but this was on like day 7, and it took us about 14 days to finally get him back to the Cleveland Clinic, which he spent almost, 8 months in the hospital, like 4 of those months in the ICU. And it was crazy. Broke down in my truck. I wrote about that feeling I was feeling again. And it doesn't go so much into the specifics of that story, but that was the emotion of what happened. I was breaking down in my vehicle. Emotionally, but not to the vehicle standpoint. And I was writing with my buddy Pryor Baird, and he said before he came into the right, he goes, "Man, I'm sorry, dude. I'm a little bit late. I broke down in my truck." I said, "What happened? Something with the motor or what's up?" He's like, no, like broke down. Like I'm going through some stuff in my life right now, and I just broke down. And I'm like, "Dude, why don't we write that? I'm doing the same thing. I'm going through the same." And we were both just kind of in that spot. And boom, we hatched that song in about 45 minutes because it was real. Back to painting those pictures that still go back to the emotion, but also tie it back to the country thread of what we still would want to hear in our genre. And yeah, it was born. So anyways, that's a lot of babbling to say. I feel like I do write no matter what I'm going through. I just might paint the picture slightly different on how it comes across in the lyrics, but the raw emotion of where that song is born from, there's a lot of truth in that. I'm constantly doing that.
Right. That's great. That's an incredible story. Really, really appreciate you sharing that. And shout out to everybody that helped you out with that, man. That's a brutal time, and it's important to, me and my lady talk about it all the time when things come up. It's like, it doesn't matter how busy you are. Like, you got to show up for the people around you. There's nothing more important than the community you've built, your friends, your family, and showing up for those people in times of need is massive. So thank you so much for talking about that.
Oh, dude, absolutely. And then one other thing on that is like to see the things in Nashville, from Music Cares to Lifting Lives. Those people showed up with boots on, ready to help my family. And that was huge. Also, one call that I got was from Jake Owen. I was working with them and Good Company. And I remember Jake calling me and checking on me. With as busy as that guy is, he's got a million things going on. And he took the time out of his day to call me, check on me. And I was battling this thing of like, I don't know why I was battling this, but I was like, if I could have just been more successful, I could have wrote a check and got him home. And I was battling this thing. And I remember, Jake is on the other side of that coin. And he just said, "Dude, it doesn't matter which side you're on. There's struggles over here too. Don't beat yourself up on that." And I guess it hit me. That was what I needed to hear in that moment, because he's somebody that has done it and has it and very successful. But to hear him say, you can have that and still have plenty of unresolved problems. So basically deal with the cards that you're dealt, and I'm here for you. And it was just, that was really cool. And there was not a time where he wasn't checking on me through that. And to see an artist of his caliber show up and take the time, he made a video for my old man and Cole. And he just said I remember him talking about in the video about it's our job as humans to check on one another and have each other's back. And he helped raise a lot of money for my family on the GoFundMe for my dad's medical stuff. We were racking up about $4,500 a day just or per my little brother was also in the accident. So they were both in the ICU over there, and we're both so yeah, about 9 grand a day. And they were over there for like 14 days.
Wow.
That GoFundMe and that community and everybody, like I was saying, showing up with boots on, they literally kept them alive, because over there, it's not like the United States, man. You don't pay the bill, you're out. That's just how it's going to roll you. They'll send you somewhere where, that private medical where they have even not even close to the caliber of medical equipment we have here, but to have even decent medical and doctors there, it costs a pretty penny. It was really incredible to see the community show up, and it was, that pulled me through for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. I'm glad we can, talk about that on the other side of that now.
Yeah.
So it's incredible. And as we're talking about the community and what you're building, you're a family man yourself. You mentioned, your wife and kids, and it's got to be, difficult at times with the career. Like you said, you talked about before, though, it's in your time, whether you're away and being at home. I'm sure now that's, more important than ever with the family at home. What is it like, doing this job where it's weird hours, it's long hours, it could be out of town with the family and kids at home? And what is that support system at home like for you, and how does that keep you going?
Man, I would say, like, I'm coaching T-ball right now. And I feel like I put out another single off this new project. So Broke Down's my current single. The single before that, that's on this 5 to 9 EP, is Boxes, that I wrote with Casey Beathard, Hall of Famer, been an awesome mentor to me. He wrote so many incredible songs. Don't Blink, No Shoes, No Shirt, No Problem.
Wow.
Like, incredible stuff, right? Him and Chris Stefano and Phil O'Donnell. And there's been a group of guys in my life here that I just feel so fortunate and blessed to have them in my life, because again, we're surrounding yourself with those people, that network, and weeding out people that, don't pour gas on the flame. But one thing I feel like we talk about in that song is, you do have all these boxes you have to check, but don't lose focus of like what is really making it. What is really your definition of making it? And me and Casey wrote a song, and Dave Turnbull wrote a song called Make It. And it's, you spend all this time trying to make it, but what really is making it, right? So I feel like the power of no, learning that word is probably the most important word, and respectfully, but like the power of no is a big thing. And knowing your bandwidth. And for me, I live and die by my Google Calendar, where we try to allot time for different things, and family time is one of those things. Like, I do my best to make sure that I'm carving out time to go do the stuff like coach T-ball and sit down and color with the kids, or example of this I feel like is we had an extra day in the travel for when I just went to Palm Coast. I knew I was going to be working down there, but I took the family with me, and we were able to schedule around where we had some pool time, some beach time, and work time too. We're working a lot down there too. Trying to make the most of the situation. But then on the way home, we added an extra day in there, and we went to the aquarium in Chattanooga, which was incredible, and got to do some education stuff with the kids, and just really make it a relaxed family day, and making sure that you get those days in, from date nights with the wife to, just all this little bit of advice that I've been given. I really take it to heart from these guys, because they're veterans and they've been there and they've done it, and they've seen guys crash and burn. And I feel like just over the last couple years, I feel like I've gotten a lot better with managing my time better, because if I don't, that's where the burnout lives, right? So that's where you kind of get fatigued in certain areas. And just like anybody, I feel like, we're all human. You're going to have stuff come up, but if you do your best to try to like balance the scale and make time for what really matters and what matters, and family life, work life, and just always just think of it like a scale all the time, and cognitive of, am I balancing it? I feel like it usually turns out okay.
I'm sure it's the thing, and it's like one of those things. It's just like a scale. You put something on it, it's gonna do one of these. It's gonna go up and down. So it's always trying to figure out. There's always gonna be something that's, maybe slightly off balance, and just kind of reacting to that the right way. And is critical, and just doing the best you can. And it leads to another thing that I've heard a bunch, while doing this podcast, is people talking about scaling and getting bigger and growth. And you mentioned it here with really thinking about what your goals are and really what making it means to you. And I think there's kind of this rat race culture, which, has some benefits, but overall people stop remembering what the true value of the thing is to them and what they really want their life to look like, not just what, the world tells them their life should look like, or, you should be bigger next week than you were this week, and this, that, and the third. So, I think that's super important also to remember those things and keep that front of mind.
Oh, dude, absolutely. And something else I feel like that fits in there is comparing yourself to others. I feel like is something that can really have a negative effect on yourself, like personally, and one thing that I always try to practice, and I feel like is one of my strong suits, is I really block out a lot of the noise, and just I think I get so obsessed with what we're doing, like on whether it's songwriting or the family or this, that like I feel like comparing to others is what a lot of times literally like stops the rocket from going off, because you're always worried about all these other things. And I think too, I like supporting, like I feel like I get fueled in when I'm supporting other people, or when I see other guys or girls that are extremely just focused on their craft and their vision that they have. And that, like, to me, is like, when you surround yourself with like-minded people like that, it's just a cool thing. And comparison it's a dangerous thing, so I think it fits into that world of like, when you're making it, like, yeah, it's like our culture and the world and social media can paint out this crazy thing of whatever that is. But when you really look internal and look inside and go, okay, what is making it to me? Cause like, some of my buddies from back home will be like, dude, like, I feel like you're making it, or I was like, dude, how do you know I haven't already made it? In my mind, I have made it. I'm doing something I love. I'm raising a family. I got the light bulbs and diapers on today, and food on the plate, and coffee in my cup. Dude, I am making it, as I've made it, like
that's a beautiful
oh,
life.
dude,
That's a beautiful life right
like,
there.
being, and I think great, being grateful. Also, my relationship with God and Jesus through my dad's accident, but also all these mentors around me. They are a great template for me and my relationship with Jesus in my life, and that has made a huge impact on me and my family. I don't know, man. I think that really also is a big thread of this that keeps everybody just headed in the right direction, and it can make you look at it through a different lens sometimes.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. I love it. I love it. I love the mindset, love the mentality. And so we'll bring it back to the music though, really quick. We've talked about the songwriting. You've already had an incredible career to this point as a songwriter, and you've always, like you said, you've always been an artist throughout it. You started as an artist, but it seems like now, especially, you're putting a new veracity behind growing yourself as an artist and not just as a songwriter. Was there a shift of time, resources, any of those things to get back into really putting out a lot of projects, putting out a lot of songs, and what is the future of your work going forward?
I feel like as we built the team and found more champions, the workflow becomes a lot more, I would say, fluid. It seems like things are really on a better schedule. We have a lot more planning around even songwriting, like what are we writing for? Who are we writing for? How are we writing? Time to songwrite, time to record music, projects that are coming out, social media, the whole bit. Like, so when you get a really great team around you, it really does make the process a lot easier, And as far as my music, what I got coming out, I feel like last thing that I put out was the Broke Down single and boxes, which are leading up to this EP that's coming out the night of May 14th at midnight. Right now, we're gearing up for this new EP for the first half of this year. And then God's Grocery Store Aisle 2. I put out God's Grocery Store Aisle 1, which was, a big part of my life is hunting in the outdoors. And in 2023, I harvested the state record moose in Maine with a crossbow.
Wow.
Up there. And that threw me in even further into the outdoor space. And that's been a huge passion of mine, something I've shared in my family for a long time. And so getting to integrate the music with the outdoors and the family and the whole bit, that was really cool. And team up with some companies like 10 Point and other people that I've, used their products for a long time. That's been really cool. And, but to be able to do God's Grocery Store Aisle 1, we had Tracy Bird, David Lee Murphy, a bunch of Craig Morgan, a bunch of really cool cats on the first record, and everybody sharing a love for the outdoors and those songs really tapping into back to the emotions or, pictures of those things that if you love the outdoors that you can relate to. And I'm excited for the back half of this year to gear up for Aisle 2. We got a lot of really cool songs and stuff we're working on. And I'm really excited about this EP that's about to drop, 5 to 9, because, 5 to 9, I'll tell you a little bit about this music. I think that's like really pretty cool. So where I'm at right now, I have a lot of ex-Amish buddies, and they helped me build this like little barndo off of my regular house, but on my property, where I can, keep all of my outdoor items. I don't know if you can see this above me here. Let's see the moose up there.
Look at that thing, man.
So that was my kitchen. And when we were building this is where 5 to 9 comes from. My wife was like, you gotta get this moose out of the kitchen. This is crazy. What are you doing? I'm like, well, it's a state record. What am I supposed to do? It won't fit up the stairs. Like, what? I don't know, but it can't be in this kitchen any longer. It's like I'm trying, and I'm not a decorator. Like, my wife handles all of that department. But it's cool because she says I have a place for all my critters and all this weird stuff that I collect. When we take the term hunter-gatherer, for some reason we're gathering a little bit too much stuff. And when it comes to, she's like, why are you keeping pine cones and antlers and bear skulls and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I don't know. Actually, it is kind of weird. I don't know why I do that. That's just the gatherer part, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so we built this space, and, it was cool because 5 to 9, when I was in here nailing studs up in the peak of this thing at like 2 a.m. It wasn't 9 p.m. But I was sitting here thinking on how I see these videos where it's like it was when it was trending on TikTok and stuff about like what you do during the day is what keeps the regular bills and stuff paid, but what you do at night is what builds the dreams. And that's where it was like 9 to 5 might make a little money, but 5 to 9 builds dreams. That was the hook of the song. And that's what this thread is of this project, 5 to 9, is like opening line of that song right out the gate of the record is like, work, work, no sleep, pour another truck stop, coffees, in a little nicotine, grab the reins, hold on tight. That is, I was like, that's my life in a nutshell right now.
Gorgeous,
right?
Man. Yeah.
Dude, so I'm just laughing because and that was with me, DeStefano, John Knight, Lance Miller, and John Knight, and actually all those guys, but John Knight and DeStefano have, I think, close to, 50 number ones between the two of them. They're like, they're incredible. They're absolutely incredible. And I'm signed to Chris DeStefano now with Wind Songs. I left Warner Chappell and I'm currently at Wind Songs, and I'm proud to be over there, and he's been producing the record. So Chris DeStefano and Phil O'Donnell produced 5 to 9, the whole project. And in that record, man, it is all my life right now. And I feel like most of the people out there that are going to listen to this podcast can relate. There's a song on there called Teach 'Em. It's about teaching your kids, teach them to pray, teach them to love, teach them to play outside with a ball and a glove, because before too long, you won't be able to teach them. So you raise them up right. So we got a little bit of that in there. We have a song on there called Everybody Needs Help Sometimes. I wrote with Casey Beathard, and that song really just hits me in the heart because of everything I went through with my dad, and like we all lean on each other, right, at different times. So that was cool. A song called Cinderella Story. And by the way, I'm giving you the whole rundown, which you can go listen to this, and it's out right now. People can go listen. But the backstory a little bit on these tracks, like Cinderella Story. I was in Palm Coast last year. Sean Parr, big radio guy. We call him America's MC because he's just, if you follow Sean Parr, you'll know why we call him that. He's got all the bedazzled jackets. I mean, this guy's hilarious, man. He's awesome. The best auctioneer and spokes guy, like, can just totally control an audience in 2 seconds with how he is, like, total light. He's like a light in our world. So cool. But he was telling me my life is like a Cinderella story. We left Palm Coast last year, went to Disney World. I got my two little girls, River and Stetson. 2 and 4 at the time. They were in their princess dresses. They're in their princess era. And it ended up being a daddy-daughter song. It's like, no matter what you end up doing, I hope, your life becomes a Cinderella story is what you're hoping as a father, right? So a little bit of meat on that one. Broke down, told you the backstory on that. Boxes is we're all in the grind. We're all doing what we do. And that song serves as a reminder for people to just get out there and do some living, whatever it is that you're doing, because we do get caught up in the grind. And yeah, like that's in a nutshell, though, that's the track listing of the songs. And I'm just so proud of it. It's where I'm at right now. And I feel like that's more of the commercial side before we get into hunting season and we do another featured project of God's Rich Trial 2. So for this year, that's kind of what we got tiered up for 26. And we got a lot of podcasts like this. We're excited to do this kind of stuff. 98.7 Kicks Country in Flagler County, Florida, in St. Augustine. They got us in rotation down there, which is so cool. We got a lot of other different publications coming out. We've been seeing a lot of playlist support from the DSPs. I mean, it's just pretty cool stuff. A lot of people relating to this stuff on the socials, and we got some shows coming up and can't wait to talk about these songs on the road. And whether it's, I'm doing the Frank Brown Songwriters Festival, which is a really cool thing. I'm doing that November 7th. That is like the oldest Songwriters Festival down there at the Floribama. So much history behind that. And, we got some shows in Maine, coming to New York, September 18th, up to y'all's neck of the woods. I'll do that show with Stephen Calley, Saratoga Springs, and June 12th. We got Maine up in September area, some private gigs here and there. I mean, it's just, we're excited to get out and share this music with everybody for this year. And we've been working on all the swag. This is a God's Grocery Store swag right here that I'm wearing. They're all over my website. They're all over the country. I seen Ira Dean, Ted Nugent wearing these things. Like, I call it the Country Boys Nike, dude. It's so hilarious. Like, I've had guys come up to me at shows and go, dude, I don't know who you are. I don't know any of your music, but I have to have that hat. What is it? I said, that's called the Country Boys Nike, God's Grocery Store. And we were laughing, dude. And he's like, oh, I don't care. I'll check out your music too, just for that. And I was like, cool. Hey, whatever it takes. So with that, and then 2027, I'm already starting to pile up songs for my next more commercial EP for 27 and continue to take meetings and build partners and champions. Yeah, man, that's the trajectory right now for the music and what we got cooking.
That's beautiful, man. That's incredible. I'm super excited to see all this come to fruition for you and all this happening is incredible. And that, man, the EP, I'm so glad that I caught you right as the EP is coming out to be on this too, because it is, as you're explaining it, it is everything that I want this podcast to be. It's about the people that are dreaming, the people that are, working the late hours, they're nose to the grind, really just trying to get it done and just need that extra kick. So that's really incredible to hear that the perfect tie in there. So everyone's got to check this out. It's out right now.
5 to 9, because we're all doing it. We all got dreams to chase. So whatever dream you're chasing out there from 5 to 9, keep on keeping on.
Beautiful, man. I got one last question for you. I was thinking of today. Funny enough, I'm in the car today, and the song "If We Were Vampires" by Jason Isbell comes on, and to me, that is just one of the best written songs of all time. I listen to that song, it hits me right in the heart. I think it's just an incredible track, and it just made me think, as someone with the career you have, as someone who's written a number one, what is the song in your mind that is the best written song of all time?
Whew. Well, that's a loaded question, but if I had to pick one just off the cuff, I would say, probably because where I'm at right now, we're just talking about all this stuff, the kids, the grind, the stuff. Don't Blink, written by two of my great friends, Chris Wallen and Casey Beathard. I just wrote with Chris Wallen yesterday, and Casey Beathard is a huge mentor of mine. That song in my mind just lives on forever, because I feel like I see myself, I see my kids, I see my whole life every time I listen to that song. And every time I listen to it, it just puts me back into like a reality check of checking that scale again, that life scale, like, am I balancing it right?
Yeah, that's great. That's incredible, man. And you kind of hit on this too, but I'll ask you as well. The show is called Someday Soon. You already mentioned some of the amazing things you got coming on here soon. What is something that falls into that someday soon category for you, like a short-term goal, even something that could be really small? And how is that thing that you're, the main thing of right now, how is that going to propel you forward into the next stages of your life and your career?
Well, when I think about someday soon, I think about everybody listening to this podcast, and I hope they go and listen to my new project, 5 to 9, someday soon, because that's what it's going to take for us to get this music out there, and for me to be able to keep headed on the journey that I'm trying to do the music on and the writing, and the ultimate goal of getting people to listen to these songs and relate to these songs and add these songs to their playlists. So I hope they listen someday soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time, Styles. Just so let everyone know real quick where to find you on all the socials, what they should be looking for, and what's coming.
Hey, absolutely. So you can find me, first off, anywhere you listen to music. That's Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Pandora, YouTube. Just type in Styles, Styles, last name Haury, Haury. Same thing on the socials. It'll be Styles Haury Music. And also, you can check out my tour dates, get yourself some God's Grocery Store swag, and just stay up to date with, all the stuff at styleshaurymusic.com. And yeah, I hope you check out the music, follow my life on the socials, and I also hope that you come see us at a show, hang out. We'd love to meet you. And yeah, keep on keeping on.
Awesome, man. That was a really great conversation. Really appreciate you taking the time. Guys, thank you so much for listening in. We got some more really great interviews coming up, but man, this one was perfect timing. Perfect, hopefully perfect for all the things you guys got going on out there. Thanks for listening all the way through, and we'll see you next time.